Hello guys, Colin here. If you want to add reverb to your sound, you have two options. Find a nice large room that gives the natural acoustic reverb you desire to play in, which isn't exactly practical, or generate some artificial reverb by some other process. Today we've got an abundant selection of high quality reverb simulations thanks to the advent of digital technology, but it wasn't always this way. Before digital simulations, electromechanical reverb units reigned supreme. Spring and plate reverbs were the staple of the studio and stage, and even although these physical units have been superseded by newer, smaller and cheaper digital technologies, spring and plate still make up a large part of the simulated market. This is because these electromechanical solutions sound uniquely different to naturally occurring acoustic reverb. Spring and plate have their own sonic signatures which can only be achieved by physical metal elements vibrating in response to an audio signal. These reverb types have been used so commonly in music production since their inception that they've become an intrinsic and inseparable part of the sound of many genres. But what's the difference between a spring and plate reverb? Spring reverb will be the one that guitarists are most familiar with. It consists of a metal tank where springs are held under tension, with an electric transducer at either end to convert the electric signal into physical movement in the spring and back to an electric signal at the other side. The vibrations in the spring cause reverb-like tails to be added to the audio signal, giving the illusion of space. The effect was first developed by Hammond for their church organs, but was quickly adopted by Fender and has been a popular feature of their amps ever since. These units gained widespread popularity because they were cheap to produce, simple in construction, and importantly small enough to fit inside a guitar amp. Even my Marshall MG15 practice amp has a real spring tank inside its little head. In operation, the audio signal is passed from the amp to the input transducer, which works sort of like a guitar pickup in reverse, converting the electric signal in the copper coil into a fluctuating magnetic field. This causes the movement of small magnets which are mechanically connected to long tension springs. The movement of the magnets sends shockwaves down the length of the spring. The louder the signal, the stronger the shockwave. The shockwaves travel the length of the spring and then bounce back for the return journey and continue on until they have dissipated all of their energy. At the far end of the spring, an output transformer sees the movement of more small magnets, converts that to an electric signal in its copper coil and sends it back into the amplifier. The exact sound of the reverb, therefore, is determined by the physical properties of the spring: length, thickness, tension, and so forth. Most spring tanks will have more than one size of spring inside. With each having a different delay and decay time, this builds a much more detailed three-dimensional perception of space. Spring reverb is very prominently featured in surf and blues guitar sounds and is a big part of many sought-after vintage tones. While spring reverb made its home inside portable guitar amps, its bigger brother, plate reverb, remained largely a studio tool due to its comparatively larger weight, complexity, and price. It consists of a steel plate, suspended and tensioned inside a metal enclosure. An input transducer sends the audio signal into the plate, and contact microphones placed at other points pick up the plate's vibration. The vibrating plate adds smooth, reverb-like tails to the original audio signal. The reverb sound is again determined by the physical properties of the plate: size, shape, density, and so forth. The input transducer in a plate reverb acts very much like the driver of a speaker. In a speaker, the driver converts the electric signal into physical movement, which vibrates a paper cone. The paper cone then pushes sound waves into the air that we can hear. In a plate reverb, the transducer converts the electric signal into physical movement, which is applied to the steel plate. Now, the steel plate doesn't vibrate as wildly as a speaker cone because it's far too dense and rigid. Instead, the vibrations from the transducer penetrate the plate and propagate through it. When the vibrations reach the edge of the plate, they are reflected back the way they came, where they start to interfere and merge with the other reflected vibrations. Contact microphones placed at very specific resonant points on the plate pick up these complex reverberations, and thus we get plate reverb. Since sound travels much faster through solid material like the steel plate than it does through air, we get a very different reverb response from a plate than we would from an acoustic reverb room. But that does have some important advantages. High frequency sounds travel faster than low frequency sounds, and in air the difference is so small that we don't perceive it. To our ears, all the frequencies are arriving at the same time. But because sound travels so much faster in the steel plate, the difference in arrival time between the high frequencies and low frequencies is a little more pronounced. Just enough for our ears to perceive it. Hearing the high frequencies slightly ahead of the low frequencies tricks our ears into believing that the sound is brighter than it actually is. Plate reverbs are often used, therefore, to colour the sound of guitar and drum tracks to make them more vibrant or present to the listener without the need to change the EQ or tone of the instrument, something that's very important if you want lots of instruments to sit well together in a mix. The quick response also gives the illusion of a small space, meaning that plate can be used alongside other, larger reverbs to give a room within a room feel. Drums and vocal reverbs are often a combination of plate and room reverb. So there we have it, the difference between spring and plate reverb. And as you will have seen, all the sound examples were from the TC Electronic Hall of Fame 2, which uses digital algorithms to simulate the electromechanical reverbs, as well as acoustic, modulated and shimmer reverbs, which are only possible from a digital unit. If you like this video and you want to see more content from me, then you can hit that subscribe button and be notified of all my new content as it comes out. My Patreon's also there for exclusive secret stuff if you wish to support me, and I'll have a playlist here of other What's the Difference videos so you can find out more interesting information. But that's all for now, guys. Keep it loud, and I'll see you later. Reverb!